Meanwhile, at a casting session just across town...
Well, I really have no idea who's going to play this part. I mean, on one hand, they have to play it mostly with almost no fingers, and on the other hand, they have to kiss Eric Stoltz on the mouth and everything. Celia, can you send in Hope Davis? Thank you.
Hello, how are you all doing today then? Oh my, what a lovely room. Oh, so shall I just crack on then, shall I?
Wait, hang on. Who are you?
Hoop Davis.
Who?
Hoop Davis.
Oh, that explains it. I'm sorry, there's been some kind of horrible mistake. You see, I wanted Hope Davis.
Right, well, I'm Hoop Davis.
Well, I can see that, but I was rather looking for celebrated but miserably faced actress of stage and screen, guaranteed to crop up in a whimsical indie movie about one man's struggle to get over the death of his guinea pig, and not, with all due respect, some pillock in a Motley Crue t-shirt.
Right, well, I'm here now, so maybe give me a go. I'm Hoop Davis.
Yes, but you see, I was looking for Hope Davis.
I get that, but I'm Hoop Davis. It's like Hope, but instead it's Hoop. No E, granted, but I do have 2 O's.
I really don't care if your name was all E's and ended in a silent T. I want to see Hope Davis, and so if you don't get out of this office and go bother someone else with your peculiar smell and offensive beard, I will be forced to go to the bathroom on you.
Oh, now come on, Squire. Why not give old Hoop Davis a try for old time's sake?
First of all, Hoop, we don't have any old times, thank Hulk Hogan and all his little Hogans. And secondly, the part is meant for a woman, and you are quite clearly... other.
Oh, don't get all hung up on gender bias, me old chum. That's so 2008. Nowadays, don't matter if you're male, female, bit of both, part of a hedgehog, several parts of a hedgehog, or half parakeet and half Phil Collins. All are welcome at the ploughman's table, me old China, me old rubber duck, me old Splinters pudding, me old...
Stop with all those appalling and incorrect Cockney colloquialisms. It's enough that I haven't jumped onto this table and inserted hot, spiky things into your eyeballs. But seeing as I'm seemingly never going to get out of here anytime soon, and Hope Davis seems to be completely AWOL, probably accepting a hypoallergenic organic award printed on recyclable tissue squares by old Chilean lesbians for playing a cancer patient who miserably learns how to play the mandolin while falling in love with a misunderstood zookeeper played by Greg Kinnear, I may as well give you a go, Hoop Davis.
A little while later... And that is why, Alan, I can and will never love you. And yet also why I love you more than I've ever loved anybody ever. Kiss me, because after tonight you will never see me again. My business for making face cloths out of old hemp and knitted almonds is taken off, and I'm moving to South Carolina with Gladys.
Oh my God! Oh my God, Hoop! Hoop Davis, you're a discovery. You're amazing. You made me feel like I was really Alan. My whole life has been a lie. You've got the part, of course you've got the part. You are the part. I felt like you've not just lived the role of Susan, but absorbed her, eaten her, engulfed her, taken her to bed and let her hog the blankets. You're a wonder. Never leave my sight. I want to, well, not exactly marry you, but move in with you maybe. Study you and learn what makes your brain move. I will watch you while you sleep. Oh, Hoop Davis. Celia, draw up the contracts, will you? Come in. Hello, sorry I'm late. It's Hope Davis.
Get out! Get out! Hoop, you sham of a farce of a parody of a face.
Damn you, Hoop Davis. Damn you to hell and back. Find out what happens next time on Radio Flange Goblet's leading soap opera, Where the Wind Shines, written by Pinky Pinkerton and Hoop Davis. Next, it's the After-Movie Diner, which started life as a tree carving made by a simpleton to give to a dog who had sadly already died of whooping cough. But now, it's this weird film discussion program on a fictional radio station you all just listened to because, well, I don't know why, really. Anyway, on with the usual gubbins. this is going to be interesting. This is a brand new episode of the After Movie Diner, but I am back with my regular co-host.
This is an old episode of the After Movie Diner.
I haven't, but you told me off for saying yet another episode. So every week...
Suddenly you were tired, you have to say...
No, I understand. But every other week now I have to try and think of how to introduce it, because you went, don't say yet another episode, just say... So, hello and welcome to the latest episode, or the newest episode, or an episode, I don't know. Anyway.
I've broken your spirit within like 2 minutes.
Within 2 minutes you've crushed my spirit. So anyway, hello and welcome to another episode. Is another episode good?
Yeah, that's fine. It was the yet.
It was the yet
that
bothered you.
tired.
It bothered you intently. So, hello and welcome to another episode of the After Movie Diner. This is the 15th time I've tried to introduce it, and we tonight are in Jimmy's Diner.
Deep-fried deviled eggs.
Yeah. We're in Jimmy's Diner on Union Street in Brooklyn because our regular diner, Kellogg's Diner, was being used for the brand new Jennifer Lopez and isn't it like Ray Liotta?
Yeah.
I mean, who put those two people together? Did someone have a mad dream and just like that and that person just bung them together?
Well, no, the way they went is we want Jennifer Lopez, and we need somebody who's older than Jennifer Lopez,
right?
But not as famous, but still famous, and a bloke.
and Ray Liotta.
And they fed it into a computer, and it came back with Ray Liotta and Kelsey Grammer.
And they went, don't go near Grammer with a barge pole.
Grammer and Lopez do not
mix.
On.
Yeah, they're like,
not ever since the celebrity golf tournament in Miami went really wrong.
Yeah. And but no, so we've come to Jimmy's Diner, which is awesome and bohemian and hip and cool and very Brooklyn, and we're sat at the bar and Jim and I are perusing the menu, and the movie we watched tonight is Larry Cohen's The Stuff.
Which is actually not going to be very pleasant to talk about
while we're
eating.
No, true.
Maybe we should talk about it before the food comes, and then we'll talk about something different while we're eating.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about it again when the food's gone.
Wow, look at that. The Williams burger with homemade potato latke, sour cream and applesauce.
Wow, that sounds really good.
Sounds really good. What are the sandwiches? What we got? Chicken club? That sounds good.
Jimmy's burger is just a burger.
Just a burger.
I'm tempted by the pulled pork. I'm also tempted by the Cuban.
What about the catfish fingers?
Where's the catfish fingers?
Catfish fingers up the top there.
Oh.
That could be nice, right?
A basket of catfish fingers.
Yeah, right?
That sounds really good. But equally, I quite fancy the Cuban.
Alright.
What are you going to get?
I don't know.
You guys aren't listening. I was like, 2 IPAs, 1 hour down, and more like...
No, I said no to it.
Oh, they also do a breakfast all day. Yeah, they do.
Breakfast club.
Served all day, it says.
Home fries, pulled pork, barbecue sauce,
That's
fried
it.
eggs.
I'm getting chicken and waffles.
Where's that?
Chicken under breakfast all day. Chicken and waffles. That's what I'm getting. I'm getting chicken and waffles. Their breakfast bowls, by the way, are amazing. I don't know if they're served all day, but I think it's just this bit. But these are really amazing.
I think I'm going to go with the Cuban. I think I'm going to get the Cuban.
All right, dude.
Yeah, I'm going to get the
I'm going to
Cuban.
get chicken and waffles.
Right. I'm quite tempted by the catfish fingers.
And then we
I think I'm going to go with
water each, and I'm going to have a nice big iced Coke if I do. So, Larry Cohen's The Stuff.
Right, okay.
Do you want to run down? I'm going to give you... Oh, you want me to do it?
Well, I don't know. I skip past things, but I get the job done fast.
Right.
You take forever.
Yeah.
And nothing gets missed out.
Nothing gets
But I
missed
feel
out.
like
How about you do it, and then I pick up the bits you drop?
Okay, all right, yeah,
That's a good way, right? That way we're working as a team
I like it.
and try and lean in.
Okay, oh yeah, okay. All right, so, here we go.
Oh, that's dynamite. Thank you.
I think we want 2 chicken and waffles, right?
2 chicken and waffles, if that's cool. Yeah, do you do just like a regular Coke soda or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, Coke is great.
And,
Big iced Coke.
Can I get tea?
Yeah.
What kind of tea? Can I get caramel tea or just normal tea? Caramel tea. Caramel, that'd be lovely. Thanks very much.
Great, thank you. I think she's one of us.
Yes, I think she is.
She's English, I think.
We probably ruined her bohemianness by being other English people.
Possibly. But I think that's still a uniqueness to us.
Well, there is to you.
I mean, we're sat here. We're at the end of a bar in a tiny but very cool little diner.
Yeah, and the menu looks really good.
Yeah, it's kind of like southern style diner food. Bit Cajun there, catfish, chicken and waffles. That's southern. comes with the southern gravy.
I just feel like ordering fish from a restaurant I've never eaten at. Always a dangerous bet.
Always a dangerous bet. But, so here we are, the stuff.
Well,
Larry
the stuff.
Cohen.
Sorry, yes, okay.
And I'm never endorsing anything Lopez does again. That's going to be the rant of the episode, I think.
But Out of Sight was it anyway, right?
It really was.
That was it.
That was it. What else did Lopez do that was any worth?
The Cell was mad, but not very good. But mad.
Right. No, I mean, you can't deny it. There were many madness points to be had with the Cell, but beyond that...
But I think that was. But I think that was it. I don't think I've seen her in anything. I must have seen her in something else. Anyway, we should talk about Lopez when the food's here.
Right.
But we should definitely get through the stuff before the food comes.
The stuff, right.
Okay. So, all right. So it. All right. I can make it real quick.
Yeah.
Basically. At the beginning of the movie, people find stuff coming out of the ground, like white, foamy stuff, and they eat it, and it tastes good. Next thing you know, it's on every shelf in America. It's like the hot new food item, and everybody's eating it. So, a bunch of industrialists, presumably also running their own food corporations, hire an industrial saboteur played by Michael Moriarty to find out how is this stuff made, what's the ingredients, so we can nick it and make our own money.
Right. Kind of like a Coke Pepsi thing.
Right. At the same time, a little kid in New York comes down one night.
No, New Jersey.
New Jersey?
He was in New Jersey.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Suburbs, basically.
Good spot.
Suburbs, basically.
Good spot.
Yeah.
And he comes downstairs in the middle of the night, and he opens the fridge, and he sees the stuff in the fridge moving.
Right.
And
spilling out of the tub.
Yeah, spilling out of the tub. So he gets freaked out and says, I won't eat it.
Right.
To the point where he's even going like crazy in the supermarket. But everybody else is going mad for this stuff, and they keep eating it. And the more that Michael Moriarty digs into what this stuff is made of, the more suspicious it is. The FDA people who approved it have all disappeared, or they're dead. The people, there was something to do with the town that I didn't quite get. I guess the town where the people live.
No, the town where they were meant to have done the
experiments.
Were meant to have done the experiments on has all cleared out and moved
to Georgia,
to another town.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's not. Thank you. Essentially, it's not that they moved so much as some died, and some who weren't as susceptible to it moved away, like scarpered, basically.
I thought they all moved as one to Georgia.
No, that was the story, but
I thought when he went down there were people from the town.
Some, but like he does say at one point that they're not all susceptible to the stuff.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right, so anyway, so the kids. Meanwhile,
you get the feeling that they scarpered from that town in Virginia for a reason.
Well, look, there's a lot
a lot left out.
Yeah,
it is.
But essentially, the idea is that the more Michael Moriarty looks into it, the more fishy it becomes, and the more he deduces that the stuff is not only dangerous, but that it's taking over the people that eat it from the inside.
Yeah.
The boy reaches, he doesn't reach the same conclusion. His family start to want to force him, so he runs away and he bumps into the.
Also, his family go from being miserable, grumpy, aggressive East Coast family to being like, be one of us, little Billy, or whatever his name was.
Yeah, that kind of symbolic of the cult.
Yeah, and they go because it takes over your mind first, and then it takes over your body.
Right.
And then when it has no use for you, or when it's scared, it ejects itself from your body, and you become an empty husk.
Right. And so Michael Moriarty and the kid.
But what its purpose is, nobody knows.
Right. So the kid and the woman who ran the original marketing campaign.
Which is Moriarty's way in.
Right, which is Moriarty's way in.
He kind of
those three. Well, anyway, Moriarty looks into it.
Yeah.
Finds there's lots of fishy stuff going on.
Right.
So him, the kid, and a woman set about finding out the source of it and shutting it down.
Right.
That is my summation.
It is. And along the way, they meet Paul Sorvino, who is a militia leader.
Well, that's how that's
kind of a right-wing militia.
I like to leave a little bit at the end.
No, I get that.
So that we can talk about it rather than like a blow-by-blow recount.
Yeah, except that I also think it plays into some of the satire points that Cohen is trying to get to.
Yeah.
Because he's making, there's not one thing he's attacking with the satire, right? He's attacking marketing, he's attacking mass production, he's attacking corporations, he's attacking the like right-wing conspiracy agenda madness versus communism that was happening back in the 80s, like they kind of like a
well, they're just today's Trump supporters.
Right. But also like the Dr. Strangelove thing of believing that communists were putting stuff in the water, or communists were going to come over and take over a corporation
I guess that was going on.
and attack America from within and all the rest of it. Like, we weren't living here at that time, but, you know, people who grew up in the 70s and 80s talk about, like, the fear of the Cold War and, like, hiding under their desks and doing bomb drills and all that madness.
Right.
And the idea that...
Well, that wasn't the 80s, was it? That was more 50s. I don't think they were doing. I think they were hiding under their
No,
desks.
I think it was still going on in the 70s.
Really? I don't think, well, 70s maybe, but not the 80s.
No, okay. But this is like, I don't know. I think it's playing with a lot of.
I
all
get
that.
your point that the comedy, the Red Menace or whatever, was at least for a certain part of the population.
It would have been
still
for Paul
there.
Sorvino's character because he would have been of that age.
Yeah.
And there's a great line like. Oh, also, I don't think at any point Cohen is necessarily showing which side he is aligned with either. I think he's definitely sort of...
Well, there aren't much in the way of heroes in the whole
Right,
movie, really.
that's what I mean. No one's really a hero, but even Sorvino, when he's the most despicable because he's racist and he's, you know, gun happy and
he's supposed to be like lovably racist, isn't he?
But even here, at one point, like he goes, "We've never lost a war," and the kid goes, "What about none?" And he says, "We lost that one at home, kid," which is sort of a comment on like the fact that the way the troops, the reason why everyone is like love the troops right now is they realised the mistake from Nam, which was everyone hated on the troops, and then the troops came back and were all massively fucked up and bullied and couldn't get jobs and blah, 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 blah. Which is what, it was the public opinion. Like, people were anti the Iraq War and still are anti the Iraq War, but everyone's pro the troops. Like, no one's. They realise it's the people pulling the strings are the bad ones, not the people doing the killing, because they're the army. That's what they're employed and trained to do, and it's not their business to ask questions. They go and do it.
So not to change the subject, right? But all right. So
I'm just saying that Cohen is commenting on a lot of
should
stuff.
Should people watch this movie?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about it.
Okay. I got the sense watching it you were not enjoying it as much as I was.
Well, okay.
And I think I have a reason why.
Yeah, I think a lot of it stands or falls on one thing. Because actually I admired a lot of what it was doing. I liked how it barreled along. I liked that it was weird and scattergun. And I remember seeing this like on the shelves of video stores when I was a kid, thinking, how did this get like an internet? Like, we must have this on our shelves.
Right.
You know, it's such a weird, odd little movie.
Right, but it is the era of horror being sort of splat-tastic. Like, there's a lot of like The Blob gets a remake around about this time. Reanimator comes out, From Beyond comes out, Evil Dead 2 is only 2 years away from coming out.
I guess that was my problem with it.
Nightmare on Elm Street is probably on 2 or 3 at this point.
I see what you're saying, but my problem with it, if I had to pin it down, was I don't think it and in I think it's about the lead, right? Because really, it didn't know. Thank you very much. It didn't know. Look at that. She knows how to say ting because she's English.
Yeah.
It didn't know what it was. It wasn't horrible enough for me to be a horror. The splat scenes, of which there were 2 or 3, which were pretty good. And but also, I felt like the effects deserved more attention.
No, but the reason why I brought it up was that, and Cohen kind of does this with Q the Winged Serpent, and even God Told Me to. And even to some extent...
Tell you what, just for people who... Because they're not going to know about it. Because you know your onions. So give us a brief rundown of Larry Cohen and who he is and what he does.
Okay, well, the things that I like about Larry Cohen is that he tends to take...
Who's the writer-director?
He's a writer-director of this movie, but he's also written a whole ton of stuff most famously the Maniac Cop franchise, Q the Winged Serpent. He ends up writing Phone Booth because he ends up becoming a writer just for Hollywood stuff. Like he's done. Larry Cohen's famous for having done patch-up jobs on like thousands of scripts and never getting credit, and it's all money under the table kind of thing. Like that's who he is. He at a certain point when the well of money ran dry for people like him, William Lustig, Glickenhaus, all those Henlotter, all those people working in New York in the 70s and 80s, making essentially social commentary movies or horror movies disguised as social commentary movies disguised as horror movies, taking their cues from the 50s and the 60s. When the well runs dry of them being able to finance films anymore, he goes off and says, well, look at all these scripts I got made, and Hollywood starts giving him jobs, patching up stuff, and one of the few whole scripts that he writes and gets through is Phone Booth.
Right.
And what he's known for is the high concept idea. Like, I don't know if he invented it, because obviously, like, Corman is also known for it, and there's a lot of people within B movies that are known for, like, the single line concept. But, like, Maniac Cop, for example, is the person you should run to for help kills you, right? This one, I guess, is like sort of beware what you eat, or beware like big marketing things, or whatever it is. Phone Booth has the concept of it all takes place in a phone booth. How do you make that exciting? Like, and I'm trying to think of there are other examples. The God Told Me To, which is all about like a sniper on the roofs of New York, but it's also got like a religious stroke supernatural bent to it as well. Q the Winged Serpent is sort of a mad police procedural, but with a dinosaur, like with an ancient Egyptian dinosaur, that really has no bearing on it other than there happens to be an ancient Egyptian dinosaur who's laying eggs in the Chrysler building, but the rest of it is just a mad cops and robbers movie. So he likes slamming genres together, he likes doing high concept stuff, and he definitely, probably closest to Romero. I can't really think of someone else. Oh wait,
It's nice that we sat right by the milkshake machine.
well, the only 2 seats were available when we came in. What I'm saying is, of all the people working in the low-budget horror/monster movie genre of this time period, the only one who is whipping in quite as much social commentary is like Romero and Cohen. I can't really think. Like,
but
in
Romero's not
Glickenhaus movies, it's there. In Lustig movies, it's kind of there. I guess in like Stuart Gordon's movies, it's kind of there. It's not really there in Don Coscarelli's movies. Phantasm, isn't it? Wes Craven, I guess. Like, he's putting in a little bit here and there.
But
his is always more psychobabble over social commentary anyway.
Yeah, his is more, I think, concept than commentary, I think, with Craven. He just comes up with a good idea.
But if you look at the zombie trilogy that Romero does, you look at the Crazies, you even look at Martin, like a lot of the ones Romero is doing. Romero's is a broad stroke. It's, be wary of the people in charge. Like, that is kind of the riding message throughout all his stuff, whether it's racism or whether it's consumerism or whether it's the nuclear panic or whatever it is. The problem is still the people in charge, and you can kind of say the same thing about Cohen. Cohen is kind of going like, the people who run our corporations and the FDA, who are meant to like safeguard us.
I don't think it's that. I think it's not so much.
It's explicitly that in the stuff.
No, but I don't think the message in the stuff is beware the people in charge. I think the message is more how easily the things put in place to protect us can be taken advantage of, or rather, how dangerous the world is,
right.
How fragile society structures. It doesn't take much for it to fall to pieces, which is, I guess, kind of Romero-esque in a way.
Right, and you can also look at, because Romero always has a bunch of protagonists in a room, and within 20 minutes they're bitching at each other, even if they need us to survive.
Thanks,
that'd be great. Thank you.
Romero Does Night of the Living Dead end with bodies on a bonfire? It does.
Yeah, Ben gets shot. And
Yeah, thrown on a bonfire. Just like all the stuff gets thrown on a bonfire at the end of this one. So I guess there are.
But also, there is very implicitly something that he does. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that's great.
What's that stuff?
That's maple syrup for the pancake, and that's country gravy, which is like gravy but white.
Wait, it's white gravy?
Yeah.
What the hell's white
For the chicken.
But, okay, but what's it taste like?
Tasty things.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Can I just point out,
what?
we've ordered something
Yeah.
with a bowl of the stuff.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
We've ordered something that has a giant bowl of what is exactly the same consistency and colour
Right.
as a murdering organism that we just
And it comes from down south.
and it comes from down south.
But no, there's something that he implicitly does to a couple of the corporate executives, and also the face of like the actions of Danny Aiello, the FDA dude, that is also saying like, you know, I agree that he's also saying like the people in charge can be bribed and can be convinced and can be brainwashed and can be whatever, but like.
Maybe the illusion is that, like, maybe it's more like don't be under the illusion that anyone's in charge. Everybody's out for themselves.
Right. There's also that going on as well.
But my thing is, like,
I'm putting the stuff all over my chicken.
I can't believe I talk about moving it and eating. So what's it taste like?
Like gravy.
It's crazy. I'm not joking, it's exactly like the stuff. So I think my problem with it is, the movie,
Right.
it all stands or falls on Maloney.
Moriarty.
Moriarty.
Artie Morty.
Artie Morty. What am I doing? And he annoyed me.
Right.
And that was the problem, I think.
Yeah, and I think
It's so slapdash. It's a lot of fun.
right, what
And I
okay.
like the spirit of it.
The other thing that Cohen is amazing at doing, and I happen to like it, but I think it probably bothered you, is that he's not concerned with stylistically letting his dialogue sing
Yeah.
in a Tarantino-esque way, where everyone waits for the next person to start talking so that everyone can hear just how incredibly fascinating all the characters are.
Right.
In this, he's written a script, and as long as like the main bits get touched upon in between Moriarty's method mumbling and incredibly bad southern accent, Cohen doesn't really mind. So what there is every scene film feels a little improvised, especially when you have like Moriarty and Garrett Morris. You feel like they know the script, but they're also kind of like riffing on it and talking over each other and mumbling
But
and
actually,
saying little asides and stuff like that.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Farley Roxburgh movies, in that there's a lot about the stuff where it's like, get the shot, let's move on.
Right.
There's not a lot of, yeah, we could do that better. It's just get it, move on, that's it. Know your lines, say them, and let's keep cracking. Which I liked. I liked the pace of it. It's just Moriarty chose to play his character in a particular way, and right from the beginning, it was supposed to charm me,
Right.
and give me like a lovable road to follow on this adventure.
Right.
And instead, it struck me as false and trying way too hard.
Whereas, you see, I think that the interesting thing about Moriarty, both in this, like, I can't tell you, this performance is 180 degrees from the performance he gives in Q the Winged Serpent.
Yeah, I can believe that. And I know
Meaning-
him from Law and Order. So I
In
know
Q
he's
the Winged Serpent.
usually a bit quieter and
No, it's in Q the Winged Serpent, he plays like a mad, sweaty, drug-taking criminal who's like neurotic and crazy and whatever. And also completely ambiguous and duplicitous, meaning like yes, he's sort of the hero of Q the Winged Serpent, but he's also completely out for himself. Like, the big plot twist in Q the Winged Serpent is that when he finds the serpent, he's not interested in, like, getting rid of it. He's just interested in what the city's going to pay him to tell him where the eggs are. Because he knows where the eggs are. And he's like, I won't tell you till the city pays me a bundle of cash.
Right.
Like, but in the Q the Winged Serpent, he's, like, mad and frenzied and crazy.
Right.
And in this, even when he could have done with, I don't know, showing any sort of, like, nerves, shock, surprise, excitement, he barely does it. He barely does it. He does it all at... He's decided that this guy is like a southern drawl, you know, slow-walking, louche, cleverer than everybody guy.
Yeah.
And he's not going to break a sweat for anything, even when the world's ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of wonderful, but I agree how it doesn't service the movie very well.
It's not like it's not the who he is necessarily, or even how he's. I mean, it is how he's playing. It's just from
Good.
I can't be. No, the gravy's not grabbing me. I'm sorry.
No.
Could be just how it looks.
It does look just like the stuff.
It's unbelievable.
It's hilarious.
But it's just that he comes in at the beginning of the movie and he's playing this larger-than-life character who's clearly supposed to be magnetic enough that you'll be, you know, whisked through this really peculiar story.
Right.
It doesn't have a lot of your standard story beats. It doesn't have a lot of... there's nothing to discover. In fact, frequently he discovers things that he has no right to know.
Right. Or knows things that...
Yeah, he just leaps to
convenience,
conclusions, right. And they're not really in any peril, really, ever. Like, times when his characters are in peril, it doesn't really work. Like, I don't ever really feel like any tension.
Right.
It's just an odd little film. It's an extended Twilight Zone episode, really, is what it is.
Yeah. But you see, I think...
You need to have the right guy to bring you through that, and he wasn't it for me. But presumably he was for a lot of people, or it wouldn't have ended up on video shelves
I know,
London.
but you have to be aware that, like, video shelves, even in London, were hungry for anything at that time. Like, yeah, because in the 80s, like, we all think that, you know, we're the generation that has discovered these movies and are, like, singing its praises. But, like, the VHS, because let's not forget, this is only a year after the Videos Recording Act, right?
Okay.
So it's only really a couple of years into people actually having home players. Now, I know that, like, home players were around since the end of the 70s, but it was a bit like when DVD players first came out, or Blu-ray players first came out, or even Laserdisc players. Only the wealthy had them. It was only once it went down to, like, you know, $100 or whatever to buy. It was only really after the VHS Betamax war.
Right.
And VHS became a much cheaper thing.
Right.
The whole novelty. Now, remember when Netflix first came out, like, everyone jumped on it like, you know, a flying shit. And it's like, VHS was like that. Like, titles were flying off the shelves. That's why, like, Evil Dead did so well in the UK, is because they released it in the cinema and on VHS at exactly the same time, and it shot up both charts, because people were just like, yeah, more crazy bullshit. Like, VHS was huge business when it first came out. Huge, huge, huge business. And titles like this were, you know, people were craving.
Like,
Like,
you're saying you didn't need to be good to be popular?
no, I mean, look at, there's so much schlock that comes out at this time. Now, I happen to think this stuff is good because I actually like how unconventional it is. I think if it was just another conventional movie, it would kind of be a little...
Don't get me wrong, I like that too. What I'm saying is, in order for it to work,
Right.
if you're not going to drag me in with pace or narrative
Right.
or believable characters or threat or intrigue or tension, if all you're going to do is be weird
Right.
for like an hour and a half, that's totally fine. But then I need somebody in the middle that I can identify with as we walk through this weirdness together. Like, I would have preferred the movie with the deeply peculiar, big-headed kid in the middle of it, because he was actually better than Moriarty at drawing me into the idea of what the hell's going on. And
whereas I was quite amused with the whole idea of casting Moriarty and letting him do what he's doing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I can see how, if you already liked him, seeing him do that would be quite fun.
Right, and not amused as in a...
ironic way?
No, not in an ironic way, but in a way where I did find it charming. In a way where I'm just like, I could watch him read the phone book right now. Like, whatever he's doing is so mad that I'm really enjoying it. Because no one, I don't care who you pick for that role, no one is playing it that way. You know?
No, that's true.
Like, only Moriarty plays it that way. And it's also the fact that because at certain points the script calls for him to be like a hard nut at certain points, like watching him just going around and casually fighting dudes is quite pleasurable as well. Like, I quite enjoyed that.
Right.
For me, the person who throws it off and actually spoils the balance is Garrett Morris. Now, he's only in a couple of scenes, but
who's he?
Garrett Morris. He was the Chocolate Chip Charlie, the guy who had the lethal weapons. His hands were lethal weapons. He was problematic for me because he was... I don't know whether he was written as a jokey character or written as a, like, you know, my hands are lethal weapons, like, this is my run and gag thing. But he was too flailing, too, like when he came into the radio station later in the movie, and you have him doing his, like, and you have Moriarty doing his mumble, 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 mumble. It was just like it was too much madness, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that point, you already had Paul Sorvino being a Southern militia leader when he's so obviously a big fat Italian.
Yeah, that was weird.
Which was totally bonkers. Slurring in between a Italian accent. And
anybody that can fit Paul Sorvino and Danny Aiello into the same movie and have Danny Aiello as a government official,
right,
and not a mobster,
right,
and have Paul Sorvino as a southern military white supremacist as opposed to a mobster.
But that's what I mean.
The trouble, presumably, with filming in New York is nearly everybody you know only ever plays monsters.
Right. But that's also my point, is like, at a certain point, it all... If Moriarty had been the only one making wild decisions about how he was going to play a character, and everyone else was sort of being deadly serious, which is sort of what happens in Q the Winged Serpent, like everyone around Moriarty is playing it realistically. Moriarty is off the chain and chewing various bits of buildings, let alone the furniture or the scenery. But because essentially all three main players, which is Moriarty, Sorvino and Garrett Morris, they're all playing them in an utterly bonkers way. Like, did Morris do a second take? It just feels like he ran in, did it, and then ran off again.
But that's my point. I think it's okay to have a bunch of mad characters if the guy in the middle of it, even if it's the kid, is steady and like his reactions to things are believable,
right?
And you can travel the mad, wonderlandy world of this crazy movie with somebody. But if everybody involved is, swinging for the acting fences,
right,
with every single line, then there's nothing to ground it. That's my problem. There's nothing to ground it.
And that, I will completely agree with you. The other thing that I found absolutely bonkers was watching it, for me, because it's edited in a fairly crazy, slapdash, haphazard way. But because there's enough going on, because it keeps jumping all over the place, it felt like stuff was rollicking along, like stuff was happening, and there was this really great build-up where I certainly felt anyway that the gradual takeover of the stuff of either the main characters and or subsidiary characters was done in a really nice way. And I thought, oh my God, this is rollicking along. Like, this is going to be over in no time. And then I looked at the clock on the thing and I was like, wait a minute, we've only been watching it 40 minutes.
Yeah, I had that.
And I suddenly went, how is this both one of the most fast-paced movies, but also completely slow at the same time? Like,
It's because it didn't have anywhere to go. It wasn't going anywhere.
yeah, I mean, the third act is nothing. I mean, the third act, they just make shit
The
up.
problem is that nobody discovers anything. Like, as soon as the kid sees the thing move, the movie is divided up into people that know the stuff is dangerous and people who know that it isn't. And that's it. Nobody has to be persuaded of anything. They don't have to discover anything. It's just like, oh, we better find out where the stuff's made, so we'll go to this town. Oh, it's not here, but they've all moved to this town, so we'll go to that town. There was no investigation or mystery or anything. It was just people moving, walking into different rooms, and that was it. Even the bit where Moriarty's like, oh, I've seen the stuff move now. He didn't see them. He didn't see the stuff. It had left the window before they bust the door down.
Right.
And then he acts like, oh yeah, clearly it climbed out that bloke's mouth. And that's a bit of a leap. You're investigating some funny dessert. You found a guy in a back room with his mouth open a little bit wide, and you've gone to, oh, it's taken over their minds from the inside, and it just crawled out the window. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, yes, that's what happened, but there's no way for him to know that. There's no way that he would know that. And that's fine. Again, I don't mind, but it just removes some tension from it. Right. Like, where's the tension of him going, no, this can't be right? Or something. Nobody had to be persuaded of anything. Nobody was even, like, scared.
Well, that's the thing. Like, had he shown, it all would have been right had he shown some sense of either wonderment, fear, anger.
Do you like waffles?
No, you don't. I'm just.
You're having the chicken and then you're having the waffles. Yeah. I don't think that's how it's supposed to work.
No, but that's how I'm doing it.
Fair enough.
Because I wanted gravy with my chicken. You don't have gravy with your chicken, so you can have syrup all over your thing. But I wanted the syrup once I.
Fair enough.
So yeah, no,
It's like there's people like, when there's a kid, you go to McDonald's, and there'd be this kids that would eat all their hamburger, and then they would eat all their chips, and then they would drink all their Coke.
Right.
And you'd think, those kids are crazy. What's wrong with them? Right. That's what I'm thinking about you now. I was going to say I was silently judging you, but that kind of I got ruined when I spoke out loud.
That was like implicit, really.
Yeah.
I take all your points. I do, and I agree with you. I still think people should watch it because underneath all that, and underneath the non-existent third act, which really doesn't know quite how to end it at all. It doesn't know how to end it. Like, it has 3 endings and none of them make any sense.
But I like the idea of... They didn't sell the idea well enough, right? Because the idea, which is, there's this dessert, right, that's eating people from the inside and taking over their minds. And it's obviously a threat to civilization. And nobody believes them, right? Because, like, why would they? And to finish it off, the only way they know how to is to go to a right-wing conspiracy now.
Right.
Who's not referenced at any point. It's like, oh yeah, he's this guy I know. And go to him and go, yeah, it's like the communists really are here, they really are taking you over. Like, that would be funny.
They kind of needed a scene at the beginning.
But it didn't have anybody...
Of Paul Sorvino being on a TV show.
Yeah, or something.
Like establishing who he was.
Or even then having one scene later on where...
As a sort of Bill O'Reilly figure. Because that's kind of what he is. It's like a Hannity, Bill O'Reilly.
But then you need a scene where they go to somebody to try and persuade them this is happening, and for them to be rebuffed, so they then have to go to Sorvino. But it was just like, oh, every plan they had came off. Everything they tried to do worked, and that's never good for a movie when that happens.
So, to talk about its positives,
Yeah.
it's designed very well. Like,
How do you mean design?
well, like the look of it, the look of the stuff, the packaging of the stuff, the mimicking of the commercials.
It's got lots of iconic things about it.
Right.
That's what, by the way, that's what bothered me about the set pieces. The effects were really good.
Right.
And like really gross and really grim.
Yeah.
But there wasn't enough of them. And I don't mean like, oh, there needs to be more. I mean, the shots they had.
Right.
Like, they just didn't linger. or give them any time to breathe.
Well, that's what
or
I meant
shop.
about the editing. Was very flat back. But let's not.
Sorry.
The positive about it
Yeah.
is that it's a madcap horror comedy social message movie
I'd say, yeah, madcap horror.
that should at least be seen once.
Yeah.
Right? It's got some great like throwback to the 80s, height of the Reagan era. This is what we were being sold. The American dream now comes in a tub kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Pepsi, like Cola. In fact, even in the movie, while holding a Coke can, some character even explicitly says,
Yeah.
it's like Coca-Cola.
I wonder
right?
if, like, because we're living in a world now where that whole, the idea of buy this product and you will be happy thing
Right.
has like gone the way of the dodos, and nobody buys that anymore.
I think it still exists, but
It does, but in a more subtle way.
Right.
But I wonder if in the mid '80s, where everything was buy this car and you will be happy, drink this drink and you will be happy, and have all your problems go away.
Yeah.
That's kind of more what it's speaking to.
Yeah,
And
of course.
that a lot of that satirical punch, which is kind of like, it's cheeky, really, is what it's doing. It's a really cheeky movie, and whether a lot of that cheek hasn't worn off. Thanks very much. Thank you. Whether a lot of that cheek hasn't just worn off over the years because nobody sells things like that anymore. It's been satirised to death. At the time, it would have been very fresh. You know what I mean? Because I agree with what you're saying about Pepsi and Coke. At the time, they were getting pop stars to drink the Coke and go, look at me, I'm happy, I'm drinking Coke. And this is what the stuff is.
Right.
Except it takes you over on the inside and destroys you.
Yeah, and I think what he's saying is, on one hand, we're sold products, and we don't really know what the side effect is, right? Like any side effect of what those, like look at the diabetes epidemic now, right? So at a certain point, people are like, we can grow corn, and corn's really great because we can put corn in everything, and it's cheap, and it means we can make these products cheaper. And then you jump forward 20 years, and you have like massive children with diabetes and an epidemic of like overweight, you know.
Yeah.
And then like the diet fad kicks in. Like everything is like these fads, and they sell this, sell that, and when something doesn't work, you jump ship and try and sell something else. Like that's why at the end of it, the corporate guys are like, oh, we've made this new thing called the Taste. It's exactly like the stuff, but it doesn't have as much stuff in it, right? And it's like that's Diet Coke, right? That's like light cigarettes. That's whatever. It's like it has a little bit of what you want.
Yeah, you're right. I think maybe that's why it didn't grab me, because it didn't. The way it would have connected with people in the mid '80s, which is, it would have been kind of a bit terrifying. Like, because when I was watching, I was thinking, where's the terror coming from? Where's the horror coming from? But I guess you're right. People start thinking about, what the fuck? Because now we all know. We know what Coke does to us. We know what fast food does. Like we're aware of it. So
We still consume it, but yeah.
As it, let's say you and me, just me, because that's how I'm experiencing it. Like, yeah, okay, I eat occasional bit of fast food, but I know what it's doing to me. I try not to eat it all the time, but at least I'm aware.
Right.
Whereas back then, maybe thinking, what the fuck, I'm just drinking this stuff because it's sweet. Like Coke and Pepsi, it's sweet, it tastes good.
Yeah.
It's got no benefit, but I can't stop drinking it. And nobody wondering, and you're thinking, you're sitting there in the cinema, drinking your Coke, thinking, what the fuck even is this stuff?
And look at what's happened. What do the companies do now? What was the big thing that everyone switched over to? It's the industry I work in. It's specialty food. Everything's organic, non-GMO, label it this way, label it that way, good for vegans, it's kosher, it's this, that, and everything else. Now, that might not be happening in every corner of the country, but especially food is now like over $100 billion industry.
No, you're right.
And it's over $100 billion industry because if you can't sell shit anymore to people, right, you need to find a way to go, okay, well, we're going to sell you this tiny little wafer that's full of, chia beans and some other bullshit, and we're going to sell that at 5 times the price.
Yeah, but leaving aside your mad... I'm saying that I think
That's why I had a problem with the very end of it, because the very end of it doesn't go, like the very end of it just goes, oh, the stuff still exists, but it went underground and now it's a drug. Well, that doesn't really play into any kind of, like Coke didn't go underground, it just got wise and started marketing caffeine-free Coke and Diet Coke and Coke Zero and Coke, that like, it didn't go underground, it just got wise.
I actually felt like...
So like the last sequence doesn't really make any sense.
You're right, in fact that last, it would be better if, they're going, we licked it, and then they walk past the store and there's like the taste, in the whatever, and it's like, oh, it's... Because that one I think would have made the point more powerful.
But that's what I mean, that it had like 3 or 4... It had 3 or 4 endings and not every single one.
Having the executives eating the thing, I don't think packed the punch that it might.
I think that's what it was. I think back then, I think you're right. There are certain aspects of the movie that probably played way better in 1985.
I think it's like a...
And I would say that probably even Larry Cohen agrees with that. I would say Larry Cohen was like, I'm writing it at a time.
I think the reason I didn't connect with it, but I wasn't terrified by it, was because we're all a lot more aware of what's in our what we consume is in our bodies now, and we still make bad decisions, but at least we're aware of it.
And we're even aware of how useless.
Well, of course they're going to, because back then when you think about it, going back to it, before Super Size Me, the documentary, it's like, well, they're not going to kill me, are they? Like, that's just bad business practice. Whatever they're feeding me, it's going to be good. Yeah, okay, it doesn't have a lot of nutrition, but basically fine. Never thinking, if I only eat this stuff, it's actively going to kill me. It's going to poison me. It's shit.
Yeah.
And that's what the stuff is.
Yeah, it's rotting you from the inside out.
Right. And and not hearing a word against it, because it's all part of it. Because again,
weirdly enough, wait.
Back then, when you think about it, right? Back then, things like Coke. Do you remember when the wall came down? The first thing they said about, look at Russia, it's great again. We've opened a McDonald's in Red Square, and now that would be seen as like the height of, poor taste and Western, like all the worst things, like coming. Back then it was like a triumph.
Yeah.
But things like McDonald's and Coke, and it was like, oh, look at the new Pepsi advert with Michael Jackson or whatever. Like it was such a big part of the American dream, capitalism. So everything about what America defined itself about versus communism.
But there's two things. Not only the ending where it becomes a traded on the street drug, which doesn't quite make a lot of sense with the satire. The other thing that doesn't make any sense with the satire is that it comes out of the ground. Meaning, if it's a natural substance...
Well, no, I think...
I mean, that's meant to be like a supernatural element, but like it doesn't quite fit the satire.
Well, I think the point is less to fit the satire necessarily, but more to induce an ooh reaction. Like right at the beginning, when he just puts his finger in stuff bubbling out of the ground and goes, oh, it tastes really good, and just starts eating it. I think that's what's that people... If people made it, then watching them eat it wouldn't be quite so grim. But the fact that it's just coming out of some bubbling hole in the ground, watching people sitting there like spewing into their mouth, it's like exaggerating that we don't know where it's been or where it's from. But I agree, it doesn't fit the satire. But I think what it does is it's supposed to induce more of a physical reaction to the stuff. Like people feeling like weirded out and grimmed out by people.
No, I guess so.
Because one of the things I liked about the movie is it didn't just stick to its like, oh, we're going to start it.
No, it's always the thing.
We're not going to satirise this thing in this particular way, and it's all going to be about structure. He obviously doesn't give a shit about structure. He doesn't give a shit about anything except making his points. He had a fun idea, and then he's just going to throw shit at it.
Right, and that's fine. And like, I enjoy the movie's eccentricities a bit more than you do. I enjoy Moriarty more than you do. I enjoy the fact that the plot goes from, we've got to take this tanker back to like someone to prove our point to, oh wait a minute, I know this castle along here where this militia lives, and you're like, wait,
yeah, you're
what?
right. No, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I quite like all those twists and turns that it takes.
Oh yeah, because he's in the truck and he goes, we need to get to a big city where people will believe us. Next stop, a castle in the middle of nowhere where there's a militia.
Right.
Okay, but when did the plan? It's fine.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, I think he saw the castle and went, can we get that? All right, that's...
No, I think he had a different ending in mind, probably bigger and more expensive. That's why Sorvino's in there, I think. They just filmed something cheaper. Because it was cheap. Like, there's like 8 guys in his militia.
Oh yeah, and they were all like, none of them were trained at all. Like, they didn't even bother to get actors or extras that could at least stand to attention. They all looked like grips. They all looked like
Yeah, they did.
hairy grips who were hanging around the set. And Larry went, "Go on, stick some army fatigues on that fat beardy guy
is
and
fine,
get him to
and
run
that's-
it,"
and that's
which
fine.
is absolutely fine.
low budget.
And that kind of adds a certain like B-movie charm to it. But and like you say, I also think Cohen is on top of everything trying to make a mad 50s B-movie. And when you watch those like mad, cheap, It Came From Outer Space, them 50 B-movies, there is like often an actor at a place where you're watching it going, how did this guy become the lead of anything? And or, you know, whatever, like just some guy. And
So I guess maybe that's the message of the film. Then, in contrast to those movies from the 50s, it's not beware the enemy from without, it's beware the enemy within.
Yeah.
Beware the things that you think you want.
yeah,
You know, beware the things you desire.
right.
Beware your inability to ask even simple
being told to you
questions.
by a guy who's made millions of dollars
Yeah.
working for a massive corporation, in fact one of the big corporations.
Which, I think that's what it is. It's supposed to be like don't beware the other.
That was delicious, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Like the communist thing is a joke in it. Like
Right.
he persuades Sorvino that the communists need to take over. Which in another film it might have been like not necessarily true, but at least it could be true because they don't
Also,
know where it's come from.
Savino trusts him and actually shoots people based on no evidence.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But that makes sense because he's just gung-ho enough that he wants to kind of go off and
Yeah,
shoot.
and I think the whole movie's full of just spin on to the next scene.
Right.
Like whenever,
And I quite, in a
See, I
weird
like
way,
that.
I kind of admire that.
yeah, so me too. Because
Yeah.
when you're writing a script, right, the worst, most difficult parts of the script are how do I get them into the room to say the thing they need to say,
In order-
and then how do
yeah.
I get them out of that room again
Yeah.
and onto the next
And Cohen
scene?
doesn't care.
And he couldn't give a shit. He writes the scene and then they're on to the next thing. And even if those two scenes don't even fit together in any kind of logical way, he doesn't give a shit. He hasn't got the time.
Right.
And
All
he
the
can't
money.
have all the money.
And
He
he's
can't have-
working sort of...
And that's what I mean. I was watching it and I was, I was trying to be more like you. I was admiring the things, trying to admire the things I liked about it.
I also thought there was some very effective shots in it. There was some like really nice...
The opening shot of the guy in the snowy mine.
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
crossbones
yeah.
behind, that was a really.
But there
good
was
shot.
like when they got chased by those 4 guys through the town, that was like the backlit shot of them was really good.
Oh, yeah.
When they went into the news agent and like everything was just all sort of piled up on top of
That was
everything
a
and
nice
like
shot. You paused it actually. You had,
Right.
There was a good pause in the way you were framed.
the way he filmed that like ghost town was pretty cool, or at least the ghost town itself was pretty cool, so wherever he put the camera kind of worked.
Yeah.
When he went to meet the executive who had that big red carpet,
Yeah.
the way the camera pulled all the way back to show like the opulence of the room, and then came like slowly moving around his face, like there was some really nice like deliberate shots in it.
You kind of get the feeling that it's all about when he's got the time.
When he's got the time, no, completely. It felt like he had time to do 3 or 4 scenes particularly well. And then, also the sequence where the family turn, where the family go from being mean
Yeah, that was
and
really
bullying to like they're meant to be the family out of commercials.
Yeah.
Because doesn't the kid say like, "Why are
Yeah,
you talking
you're
like
right.
it's a commercial?" And suddenly it was lit, or they were acting like it was like,
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
which really worked.
Yeah.
Thanks ever so much. Thanks a
you.
lot. Have a good
Cheers.
night. Bye now. Look at this little fella. Crazy little
So I
dog.
guess I'm still walking back to the same subway store.
Yeah.
Shop.
Yeah.
Store. Stop.
Because I got to go back that way anyway.
Jesus, it took me a long time to say the word stop. That's a bit worrying. But I will say this.
I'm just going to check we're still recording.
Yeah.
We're still recording.
Every now and then, when we
Where
watch
did I
it-
get 1985 from? You said
Oh,
1985.
yeah, it's 85. Was at the beginning.
That's what it said at the beginning.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was suddenly like, I didn't look it up. How would I know? Anyway.
One of my favourite things to do with the old movies,
Yeah.
when they show the title card at the beginning, and you get the MCM, XV111 or whatever,
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
going 1963. I like figuring that out.
Figuring it out.
But
You mean Roman numerals?
Roman
Chief,
numerals, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you mean? Right.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, sometimes when we watch a film, after we talk about it, I like it more, and that's one of those films. I still didn't. Moriarty spoils the movie for me.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of the connection, like the subconscious connection that the movie would have had with its audience in 1985,
Right.
has largely disappeared now.
Right.
And it's difficult to get back into it because it's I think it is supposed to be this, and that's not really there anymore, which is a shame.
Right.
But I think it has a lot. I think as a movie, it has a lot of merit, and I like it. I liked its slapdash approach to let's just get to the next thing that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think that my other thing is, I love that it exists,
Yeah.
and I love that there was a time and place where a movie like this, like you say, could go international.
Yeah.
And that Cohen knew that, and in a weird way is kind of like, well, I'm going to make this movie, and it's going to be bonkers, but it's also going to be like this mass satire, and it's going to be telling people like, they live. John Carpenter. It's another great Reagan era thing, which kind of is saying the same thing as the stuff, with some of its consume, obey stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that those horror directors or those genre directors, not wanting to pigeonhole them, I'm just saying that's what they were training at the time.
Yeah.
The fact that those guys were creating and producing that, and whipping in a bit of a mess with it,
there's a lot to
kind
admire.
of
Yeah, there's a lot to admire
commend
about that. It doesn't
which is
happen.
why I wouldn't go, this isn't so good, don't watch it. I would say, prepare yourself for some performances you've never seen before, because they're a bit bonkers, all the performances.
Yeah.
And stick around for like some of the special effects, which are, if not greatly produced, are at least like original in their style and intent.
Yeah, actually, I think the special effects are good. I enjoyed them. My only problem with them was I just needed to linger a little bit longer on them to get more of a punch. Like
My
you say, it was badly edited.
biggest problem was the editing.
Yeah, well,
My
I can
biggest
see
problem
that.
with the editing. There was even a sequence at the beginning where it cut back to. There was this whole thing about Danny Aiello being afraid of his dog.
Yeah,
basically
that was
because the
weird.
dog was on the stuff.
That was some bad editing.
Right,
in that
and then
sense.
it cut back to him being attacked by the dog, but it felt like a big chunk had been cut out, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is an uncut Blu-ray. Like, why would there be something cut out? And it wasn't that there was anything cut out, it's just that it wasn't, they didn't have all the film, like he hadn't filmed everything he needed.
No, did you notice the really bad body doubles in the motel scene?
Yeah, I did.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
not
yeah.
the same two people in the motel standing front of stuff.
Right.
So I guess even, something they didn't get. And the whole Sorvino thing reeks of something that was even shot like a couple of months later because they couldn't get what they wanted.
Right, but I also think that I bet the motel thing was filmed in a soundstage somewhere.
Right.
And that he was just like filming from behind to put a ginger wig on him because Moriarty is wearing a wig throughout the movie anyway.
Right.
Who's going to notice? Are they still filming Lopez and Liotta?
I would think so. I would
bloody,
think you're going
bloody,
to have a job getting Liotta away from
Although I
free
did
pie.
realise that we could have walked straight from Jimmy's Diner to,
Yeah, we
or
really
straight
could
from
have done.
Kellogg's
But
Diner
then
to
we
Jimmy's
wouldn't have
Diner.
gone through the
Well, we
carnival.
wouldn't have gone through the carnival.
So that's fine. I'm all right with that.
But I got you home quicker, which is the important bit.
Yes.
The important
Yes.
bit is getting you to the subway quicker afterwards.
Thank
we
you.
had the nice walk
Thank you.
earlier, so
Well,
that kind
thank
of
you very
worked.
much for having me.
It was a it was dude, how awesome was that?
Do you want to talk about the Blu-ray briefly?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't because I've always seen fairly good versions of it. This isn't like a movie where it was all lost and degraded and shitty, and they've done some big, great remastering on it. This was just. It looked good. It clearly looked as good as it's ever looked, but it didn't look so like brand new, spanking, shiny, and awesome. For me to be like, oh wow, what work they did on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's remastered, and I'm sure the extras are great. I need to check out the extras, and
Yeah.
if I do that before editing this, I'll add a little addendum. But
Yeah.
it looks great.
It looked pretty good to me.
And if you're a fan of the people that would end up becoming what was called the Masters of Horror, that Showtime series, your Coscarellis, your Lustigs, your Cohens, your Carpenters, your Stuart Gordons, if you're a fan of that, I would say this is a quintessential Cohen film that needs to be seen. But I would say that Maniac Cop 1 and Cue the Winged Serpent are definitely better. That's where I would end it.
Cool. Thanks, man. Thanks
No
for
worries,
having
man.
me.
It was a pleasure. Okay, so right about here would normally be the time where I would do some hilarious song all about the movie, all about Michael Moriarty's accent, all about stuff. Who knows? I could have done that, and but really I didn't. So I'm not going to go on about it. What I would like you to do, though, however, is go over to miskplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com and pick up my latest album, which is called Almost Naked by Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, and that will help support the After Movie Diner podcast. So why don't you go do that? I will play a song from that album next. That's going to be your song for the week. But why not go over to miskplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com and pick up the album? It's just $6, and you get 16 tracks. Almost an hour worth of music. Oh, sounds pretty good, right? Pretty good. So, why don't you go do that? Either that, or just listen to it on Spotify. Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, Almost Naked. Listen to it on Spotify, and I get 0.01 cent a play.
We were both just out of school, and both of us tried to play it cool. You with all your piercings and colored hair. We'd hang out most every night, talking rebellion over a tasty bite, but acting like we didn't have a care. Your eyes were torches under thick black mascara, and I could never take my eyes off you. We were both gonna compete in Battle of the Bands, and I was nervous about my cheap guitar, but I knew your talent would take you far. When I saw you playing drums in sticky taco hands, the boys would ask me what I saw in you. They were just jealous and stupid too. You were everything in your tattered Cure t-shirt. We made plans to run away and to take the country by storm one day, to shout at the sky and kick some dirt. I'd come and watch you rehearse. Everyone else was 100 times worse. I could spend the rest of my life up in the stands, cheering for you every single night. The rhythm and music nice and tight when you play drums in sticky taco hands. Then came the day when you fell ill. My whole world came to a standstill. No rich adventures and love for you and me. And I visited you every single day. All your favorite 45s we would play, until the nurses told us off repeatedly. Your second to last night we escaped to the roof, tried that drink that was 80% proof, lay under the stars and talked of future plans. Now I'm alone and that I can't fix. You left me all the memories and a pair of sticks from when you played drums in sticky taco hands.